Happy Masterclass Day!
Masterclass Monday.
Masterclass Monday. She likes alliteration.
I do. A lot.
Welcome in. We're so glad that you are here today. I see someone at the doctor's office, watching from all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So we're super glad that you are taking time out of your day to hang out with us and hopefully learn a whole bunch with us during this masterclass today.
Yeah.
So
shout out to all you early birds too that are here
Yes.
from the West Coast.
Yes.
You guys hopefully are having your morning coffee and joining us.
I'm still having my morning coffee
Yeah.
over on the East Coast. So totally get it. All right. So before we dive in, Sarah did not know I was going to do this.
What'd you add to my slides?
I might have added a really nice introduction about you.
Well, hello.
So I thought it would be nice to take a second because we are not always the best at introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I thought I want to introduce you all who are here for the masterclass, basically the next 4 days together that we're going to spend, just to take a minute to introduce you to your teacher. So meet your teacher.
Hello. Yes, I'm here today. And then in addition to me, though, so you can see I'm a designer and digitizer here at Hoop Sisters. But in addition to me, you have a secondary teacher, and that's Aubrey today.
Well, okay.
I know
I'm
that
not-
you don't do this stuff,
I'm
but
not
you
the
could teach
teacher.
it.
And
You've been immersed in it enough that you know a lot of the fine details.
well, I'm not going to
So.
try to teach, but also you have me and Sarah today,
Yep.
but there are times throughout this week that our mom Annie is going to
Yep.
also step in, who originally taught you.
Yep, that's right.
But I did you know that you've been doing this nearly a decade?
Isn't that crazy?
It is
Time
crazy.
flies when you're having fun, and we have a lot of fun.
Yes, we do. And I will also say one of the things that I love about this business that we've created, that Annie and Linda created, and we've kind of stepped into to help them out and do all the things is all of the designs are done in-house. So everything that we sell design-wise is out of one of your guys' minds.
That's right.
And
That's
then digitized and designed, test zone by Tammy and you. And so anyways, you are in good hands. You are going to learn a lot from Sarah this week. And also when the days Annie comes in, you're going to learn a lot from them as well. So Hoop Sisters has been around since 2008.
Isn't that crazy?
All done in-house.
Yeah.
Quilting is always included. You never have to buy a separate quilting file. So there's lots of good reasons to learn from these smart people for sure.
Yeah. And I'm so excited. I love Masterclass Week. It's one of my favorites. There's so many things I love about it. I love kind of starting at the beginning and then working your way up. I think it's perfect for newbies and pros alike because there's always something that we'll probably get at this week to trigger something in your brain, remind you of something, little things. And even you guys in the comments, I know a lot of you guys in the comments have been doing Hoop Sisters for a long time. So you guys add value through your comments as well. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Okay. So you're in good hands. Not only do you have Sarah and Annie later in the week, you also have a direct point of contact for any outstanding questions that you might still have at the end of each day this week by reaching out to Nina. So Nina has been with us also a very long time. I want to say like 7 years.
Yeah.
And she's your customer experience manager. She's here to make sure that you have everything you need and all your questions are answered. And her contact information is on screen. So if there's something that we can't answer for you personally on the live, please reach out. Don't let it linger and not be sure. She's a quick phone call or email away and she will be there to help. Oh, look at this. This is a nice comment. Sarah is a great instructor.
Oh, well, thank you, Kathy. Sometimes I do get a little excited though, and then I talk too fast like I am right now. So tell me to slow down if I do that.
Also, Sarah, before well, not all lives, but she'll say, please don't let me say anything silly today.
Don't say anything weird.
Don't say anything weird.
I probably will.
And I'm like,
you know,
I think it's fun when you say something weird. You just never know, right? Never
Well, I
know
mean,
what
that
you're
was a
gonna
little weird what we just said. So there we go.
So we got it out of the way. Okay. So yeah, I think it's time to dive in. And this is the other thing that we wanted to make sure that they knew going into this today.
The back to basics.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did, oh my gosh, was this a month ago?
It was like at the beginning of this month.
Time really does fly. So if you guys didn't join us at the beginning of March, it's not April yet. So at the beginning of March, we did a back to basics little mini course. So we kind of, in previous master classes, we've included this in masterclass, but we kind of pulled this information out this time, added some more fun stuff that we're going to get to later in the week. But we are going to do a little back to basics refresher today. Just a quick, we're going to touch on it real quick, just for a minute or two. We'll answer any questions about it. We're going to move on to Applique.
So did anyone miss back to basics? So as we get started here today, if you did not attend the back to basics course or watch the replays or get your hand on the block you see on screen there or the course guide you see, if you did not get that at the beginning of the month, put a number 5 in the comments. Okay. Give us a number 5 in the comments. If you're like, wait, I didn't get that. What is that?
Do you remember what these numbers are? Because I have had to kind of try to fill your shoes at times, and I will say numbers and I'm like, I don't remember what that number is.
I think I actually do.
Okay, good.
Number 5. Okay.
Awesome.
Here's what we want you to know, number 5s. You're going to learn a lot this week. We want you to get your hands on this absolutely free part of Masterclass. So we're going to have Nina drop a link. It's going to be a zipped file. So you might want to, play with that after the live. But we are going to drop the link directly to the back to basics so you can get your hands on that for free. It's also on our website in the upcoming virtual events tab. If you click in there and under the Masterclass section, there's a lot of information in there for you as well. So if you put a number 5, you get it today. Okay. The other thing that we want you to know before we dive into the class, the course, the meat and potatoes that Sarah is going to get into, we also had a free gift with purchase during the Masterclass Back to Basics course. So what she's going to teach on today is our Masterclass 104. We're going to show you the quilt, dive into it. If you decide to order that, maybe you haven't gotten it yet, we did bring this part of the promotion back just this week.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah. So if you order the design, we'll get into that more at the end. You will have this pop into your cart automatically, and we'll have Nina drop a link to where you can find this on the website too, the Masterclass design. Okay. I think I've done what I need to do, and I think it's your turn to teach.
I'll still put you to work a little bit.
Okay.
You're standing here, so I might include
I'm not going anywhere. So
okay, so let's talk Well, you know what? Before I do this, I saw specifically Mary Lou and Linda both commented that they are brand new newbies. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, this is the best week ever to be joining.
Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is. So any questions that anybody has, not just Mary Lou and Linda, but everyone, if you have questions as we're going, pop those in the comments. We'll try to answer them kind of as we're going. Some we might pin and answer toward the end.
Yep.
But let's get started. So our agenda today, if you don't have it, well, you should have it. If you've purchased Masterclass 104, you have the overview document. This will give you kind of an agenda of what to expect this week. But basically the agenda that we're going to cover this week is going to walk through the course guide section of Masterclass 104, because you're getting the course guides, the instructions, the design files, all this good stuff. So what we're going to do today is we're going to review back to basics, which was, if you put a number 5 in the comments, you'll get that course guide with the link that Nina dropped in comments. But we're going to review back to basics. And then we're going to talk all about applique as well as backing options. Ooh. So those 2 things we'll cover today. And then tomorrow we are going to talk about, you want to pop that slide back up there? Mm-hmm. Tomorrow we're going to talk about stitch and flip 2 ways, and we're going to stitch the butterfly 3 block. So that'll be the name of that block that we're stitching tomorrow. If you want to kind of stitch along with us, that will give you time to prepare that. You can look at your instructions and pull up the design file on your machine. And Annie will join me tomorrow for that. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk faux flange done in the hoop of your embroidery machine.
I love the flange.
I know. It's really, really pretty. A nice pop of color in that border. and then trimming and joining on Wednesday as well. And we'll be stitching the border block. So you can prep ahead if you want. And then Thursday is putting it all together, because this is a quilt in the hoop masterclass. But what is the point of a quilt in the hoop masterclass if you don't know what to do with your blocks when you're done, right? Like, okay, great. I have these blocks. Now what?
How do I make it a quilt? How do I put it together?
Yep. So Thursday we are going to talk everything putting it together. You'll have your blocks joined by then, or at least some of them. And then on Thursday we'll talk about backing, sashing demo. We'll do a no hand sew sleeve demo, and Tammy will join us for a binding demo. Yep. So I'm really excited for that day in particular, which is odd because it's not really quilt in the hoop, but it's the finishing touches. Yeah. And the finishing touches are, I would say, just as important as the techniques that you're using at the machine.
Well, and we do cover in lots of workshops how to make a block and all that stuff. But this, I feel like, is just going to be a lot more comprehensive, because we are going into more of the putting it together, the backing, the binding, and the sleeve and all that stuff. So it's going to be very exciting. Also, love the amount of number 5s that weren't here for Back to Basics when we kind of kicked off Masterclass to get the orders in and all that stuff. If you are still looking for that freebie, the Back to Basics course guide and that block, so you can try it out, we'll drop that link again. I highly encourage you to grab that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it'll give you a good sense of what you missed out on before, and get you off to a good start with us today. Yes. And just a quick reminder, as we just discussed on the slides today, we're live, but we're also live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with all that information that Sarah just shared. So it's going to be very comprehensive. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into it. So this is going to cover the Back to Basics review. I was kind of laughing to myself too, because you were like, Sarah always says, don't say anything silly at the beginning of my life. And then I saw Maureen said she's going to the large TV screen, and I was like, oh no.
Now
see us up close.
Now you're going to be in high definition saying something weird.
Yeah. Okay. So Back to Basics review. There are 3 main things that I wanted to cover from the Back to Basics review. You can see on the left side of your screen, kind of the screenshot of each of those pages goes more in depth, but we want to cover what Battleizer is, because we're going to talk about Battleizer probably most days this week. So Battleizer is batting plus the scrim from Stabilizer that is joined together in one product. So it's one product that you're hooping versus having to do a stabilizer and a batting. And one of the great things about it is, I'm going to move this. And by the way, we didn't test our lighting theory on them yet. But
we haven't.
It's okay. Okay. I should have had this up here first. My brain tried to put stuff in order of how I'd be using it.
Yeah.
I'm on step 1 and I failed, but that's okay. So Battleizer is a batting, and it's the scrim of the stabilizer. So sometimes you can kind of pick at it and pull that scrim off there a little bit. So you see that's the scrim of the stabilizer, and then your batting, it's all connected into one nice product. And the great thing about this is you just have one product that you pop in your hoop. You're not having to hoop a stabilizer and then add a batting on top of it. Just one product that I'm going to pop in my hoop, pop in my hoop. So what I like to do when I hoop this too, is I just cut a strip that fits my hoop. So it's going to fit my hoop this way. And by the way, Battleizer is 24 inches wide. I've already used a little bit of this. This is just a piece that I had set aside for today. So I've used a little bit, but I'm going to re-hoop it into here. So I'm going to put it over top my hoop.
So instead of hooping 2 things,
you're just
doing the one.
Easy peasy.
Love it.
Pop my inner hoop in and lock it into place. And then I can go over to my machine. I'll connect, place my hoop on my machine, and then I just start stitching. It's so easy and so great. And we'll talk about this more on the trimming day, but you can make Frankenbat with this, because I'm going to build my block on top of this. We're going to stitch our flower block today right in this hoop. And then when we go to trim it, which we're going to cover, I'm not even going to tell you what day because that was on the slides. It's not fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the wrong thing. But when we go to trim it, you'll see that you can keep those scraps and use those to make frankenbat. So you're not wasting your scraps and just throwing them away. Keep those scraps because you can zigzag them back together, rehoop them, and build another block right on top of them. So it's a great, great, great product. It's got the lightness of a batting and the movement of a batting, but the scrim of the stabilizer really helps support the stitches that you're placing on top of it. So that is Battleizer. Okay, what was next? I need my slide for guidance. Otherwise,
I get it.
I'll go squirrel and
I get it
somewhere else. Okay, so water soluble thread. Water soluble thread. There's 3 reasons to use it, and you're gonna love it in the construction of your block. So this again is all in our Back to Basics course guide. One of the first reasons, and this I would say to me is the least important. To you, it might be more important, but it's going to reduce bulk in certain areas of your design. So when you're using it for your basting stitches, for your tack down stitches, after everything is joined together, and you're only using this, by the way, when your block is in the hoop. You're not using it to join your blocks together. That would be bad news bears. You don't want to do that. But it reduces bulk because you're able to, after everything is joined together, then use a damp Q-tip and you can wash those basting stitches away, or you can wash your final wall hanging or quilt or table runner even, and your basting stitches will wash away. So that I would say of the 3 reasons is the least important to me. The 2 reasons that I love to use it, fewer thread changes. I don't want to rethread my machine with every single step that I'm working on. So I love it for that. And then I love that when the basting stitches, it washes away. And I have an example here. Let me grab that. Where did I put it?
I feel like the examples really help because you'll see exactly why you would want this to wash away.
Yes. So let's see. I'm going to grab my scissors right here. You tell me if we can see it. I can see it in person, but hopefully on camera we can see.
Can you all see
this
that?
White basting stitch right here. So when you join your blocks together, you're going to join on the basting stitch. If you don't catch that perfectly, you'll see it a little bit. You can see it better in person, by the way, than you can on camera. It's always hard to get things to show great on camera, but you can see it. And that's what's great about the Vanish Light water soluble thread is I can just wash that away now. And it's gone. It's going to help your quilt look a lot more seamless if you get rid of those basting stitches like that.
Okay. All right.
And then we also wanted to talk about storage as a basic review from our Back to Basics class. So storage is kind of important with water soluble thread. Obviously, you don't want to store it in a humid environment. And, you know, for those of you that live in Florida, it's humid, right? So a few things that you can do is you can keep it in a zipped baggie, or I've even heard an amber jar. I've heard some people even pop it in the refrigerator. So those are some tips, some takeaways. If you struggle with breakage with water soluble thread, I would maybe think to how old is my spool of water soluble thread? Does it need to be replaced? It's a little more delicate, especially if you live somewhere really humid. And then maybe slow your machine down. Those are the top 2 things that I would think through if you struggle with breakage with water soluble thread. Okay, you got any questions? I know you're kind of patrolling the comments. Anything I need to touch on?
I don't think anything. I don't see anything that we need to talk about right now. No.
Okay.
All right.
So last thing that we want to touch on from the Back to Basics review is Dream Puff versus no additional wool batting, or wool typically is what we have used in the past. They're pretty interchangeable, I would say. You can change these to suit what you have on hand. If you have a wool allergy, go ahead and give Dream Puff a try, which is a poly, or you can try bamboo. Both of those things work great. So you would want to use this when you kind of want a little extra dimension underneath your quilting. It's going to make that quilting pop and show even more, because if you're brand new with us, maybe this is the first time you're ever hanging out with us on a live, the quilting is always included. So if you see quilting in a design, just know it's going to be included in your embroidery files. And if you want that quilting to be the star of the show, wool is a really good thing to add there.
Especially on something like Masterclass, which is more wall hanging.
Yep.
But there are times that we say you might not want to use
That's
wool.
right.
When would that be?
That's right. So thank you for
You're welcome.
You're great.
I know. I'm an amazing teacher.
So like a table topper, mug rug, I would probably skip the wool. And it really is a personal preference thing. It is 100% personal preference. It depends on the final look that you're going for. But for a table topper or a mug rug, I'd probably rethink using wool on those.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to set a vase on it.
That's right. That's right. Can you come over here to this camera real quick? I want to show them. So this is a piece of, and as I'm looking at these, I think I have a piece of wool and a piece of Dream Puff. So there's slight color difference between the two, but they both are prepared the same. They act the same when you stitch on them. Really no major differences between them. But this is a piece of Dream Puff that I cut and I did not prepare aside from cutting it.
It's fluffy.
Extra puff you get, pretty cool. But when you go to tack this down, you don't just want to cut it and slap it down and zigzag tack it down. And that step is built into the design for you, by the way. You don't just want to tack it down like this. I would recommend going over to your iron and pressing it just about approximately a 1/4 inch, but see how it's not perfect? No worries. You don't have to be perfect with this. Just press it, because what it will do is it will flatten that edge so that when you're going to tack this down, instead of this puffy thing where it's puffy right on the edge, you just have this nice flat edge so that the foot on your machine does not get caught in it.
And yet it's still nice and puffy where it needs to be.
It sure is.
Okay, one thing real quick I have to say, Leanie, this is fantastic. So Leanie says, I can't thank you enough because we're going back to kind of water soluble thread here, but I thought this was still a good time to talk about it. Because she uses water soluble thread for all of her applique projects for placements and tack downs. So it's something that you've learned here with Hoop Scissors stuff that she's been able to take out into her other designs that she might be working on, which is cool. Okay, let's see.
And
what else?
Speaking of water soluble thread, I did have these here. So this is a 2,000 yard spool. And then it also comes in, I think this is a 300 yard spool. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So 2 different options for you. So when you think about storage, if you do live, so by the way, we are in Ohio. It does get humid here in the summer. If you live in Florida, you're probably laughing at me though.
I feel like
saying that.
Yeah.
So I guess I say this, just show this to you, just because if you've never worked with water soluble thread and you know that you live in a humid environment, maybe you start with a 300 yard spool and kind of see how quickly you go through it.
Yeah. And we do have that on our website. So we'll drop the link to the website too. So the masterclass design is over there, but also the tools that we're talking about, from Battleizer to, I think we have Dream Puff in stock right now. If we don't, it'll be back in stock. And then we also have, of course, the Vanish Light.
Yeah. So I'm going to, I see a comment.
This.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
don't know if Annie is watching, but if she is, could you bring me a piece of parchment paper?
If you're watching.
Christine said
she's got a trick.
Yeah, she said, I've got,
you want this over there?
Yes. She said, will it stick to the iron? So what you're asking is, when you press this in about a 1/4 inch, is it going to stick to your iron? Yes, it will stick to your iron a little bit, but this is what you do. You go to your kitchen, grab a piece of parchment paper, or a piece of paper also works. I don't have a piece of parchment paper right here yet. Hopefully Annie will bring me one. But what you can do with parchment paper is you can just lay it down right over the top. It's more see-through. I can hear the parchment paper coming. I can hear it. Oh, yay!
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Parchment paper. Lay it right down over the top of what you're going to press. And then you can just use your iron and press right along the edges. And then just turn it and keep working on each of those sides. I like to crank the heat on my iron up too. I want it to be quick and stick well. There's a little bit of glue in these, so it'll stick really nice. But parchment paper, see how you can see right through that so you know where you're pressing? Definitely use this. Thank you for your question.
Okay. We back over here?
Yes.
And we talked about all that.
I think we're good on that. So let us know if you have any questions in the comments. and we are going to move right along.
All right. Okay, now this is also an exciting topic because really we do this a couple different ways, right?
Yeah. So backing options. So you have 2 options to choose from with backing. And by the way, if you have your course guide and you're following along, I did put my slides kind of out of order from the course guide. So not to trick you or anything, but I kind of skipped over for now. We're going to go back to it, but I skipped over pages 2 and 3, and now we're moving on to pages 4 and 5. So backing options is where we're at. And the reason is because before you start stitching any blocks, you got to know whether you want to add your backing in the hoop or if you want to do a one-piece backing. You can't really start stitching until you know that, right? So designs like the Masterclass 104 design, it's going to be a one-piece backing. Highly recommend that. There are some ways that you can play with the design to be able to add it in the hoop, but I would just stick with a one-piece backing for that. It's really meant more as a wall hanging. Now, some of the larger designs like the heirloom style quilts, those ones look really pretty, or like log cabin. If you were watching last week, we showed you guys log cabin, and it had the quilting showing through on the back. So that was done with the backing added in the hoop, and it does require sashing. After you join your blocks together, you do have to put a sashing on there. Now, one of the cool things about sashing is I kind of think it can be another decorative element to your quilt, or you can choose to maybe match your sashing fabric to your backing fabric, and it'll blend in a little. But so those are some things that you want to keep in mind when you're making this decision versus a one-piece backing. So a one-piece backing, no quilting is going to show through on the back, but you also don't need sashing. And I put no sashing required for most quilts. I said most quilts because if you're making an heirloom quilt or a really, really big quilt, you're going to have to divide that into sections.
Or you make like 4 to 6 of this quilt repeatedly. Like, how do you do that? How do you put it together?
You're going to have to divide it into sections, add the one-piece backing, and then once you put those sections together, you'll have some final seams to add sashing to. But obviously, it's a lot less sashing than when you're adding it to every single seam.
But for Masterclass 104, you've specifically designed it for the one-piece backing.
Yes.
So if you are new to Hoop Sisters and you're following Masterclass, you're going to pick that route.
Yeah.
Even though Sarah is going to show you a couple other things.
Yep. Okay. So let's dive a little bit more into backing options. This is just kind of high-level overview. Let's dive in a little bit more. That was your cue.
I was like, is she going to go to the close-up camera? What is she doing? Oh, it's
me. Oh, yeah. I guess I should have told you that, huh? And just keeping you on your toes.
That's right.
Here.
That's right.
So let's talk more in depth about backing that is added in the hoop. So I put here, there's really 3 simple steps to it. Three simple, but very, very important steps to remember if you are adding your backing in the hoop. So first one is that you want to match the thread in your bobbin to the thread in your needle. And sometimes people will say, well, my backing is, a different color and I want to use a contrasting one, not one that matches. Can I use different colors in my bobbin and in my thread? I would not recommend that. You need to have perfect tension on your machine in order to do that, or some's going to show on the top or the bottom. So I wouldn't recommend that. So definitely matching the thread in the bobbin and in the needle is step 1. So step 2, again, very simple, but very important. Turn off your automatic thread cutter. And then step 3, bring your bobbin thread to the top of your block. So all of these things are going to help you avoid nesting on the back of your quilt. I'm going to come over here and show them.
All right.
Okay. So this is an example of a quilt that the backing was added in the hoop, and all 3 of those things were done. It's just beautiful, isn't it?
It really is really pretty.
All right. And then you can see the sashing along here. So we kind of went with a matching almost sashing right here, and it's just really, really pretty.
It is pretty.
All right.
You can really see the quilting.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on?
Yes. Can you do this one? Can you cover this one?
One-piece backing?
Yeah.
Of course I can. So the rule is just follow Sarah's instructions. No. No. Okay. So that the one piece backing is exactly, we should actually show the quilt, Sarah. We haven't really even shown the quilt. The one piece backing is what you're going to follow along with if you are brand new to Hoop Sisters and doing the Masterclass 104. This is exactly what we did on this quilt. And before we get into it, because I am going to use Sarah's notes a little bit.
Do it.
So this is the main quilt for Masterclass. Sarah's going to be actually stitching the flower today. And this is the quilt she's teaching on throughout the rest of the week. And if you can see here, these are kind of blocks, right? These are what she's doing each individually in the hoop and then joining those together. Mm-hmm. And when she does that, the back is going to be plain.
Yeah.
In the hoop. She's not adding anything while it's in the hoop. But then the magic happens where she puts the one piece back on and uses a monopoly thread to just kind of do like a serpentine stitch to hold it together. And she is going to go into more detail on this. I believe it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
I think it might be Thursday.
Okay. Well, we'll get you the exact date. But this is what it looks like as a one piece back. So you can see here, you cannot see the quilting in this scenario. Mm-hmm. And the monopoly, it's almost like an invisible type thread. You really can't see it unless you get up close. Same thing with the front. You really can't see it. It just kind of blends in. But this is the look of the one piece back. This is what you're going to want to follow as a master classer.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's your trade-off, right? Quilting on the back or no quilting on the back.
Right. And how often are you going to look at the back? I'm kind of like, one piece back sounds easy to me.
I do think
that's just me though.
I do think that it is a little bit easier.
Okay. Well, there you go.
A little bit eeasier, a little bit faster.
Okay. I'm going to pop this back up here because I do think you could probably explain it better than me.
Yes. One piece backing. So you'll join your blocks together. We're going to cover joining, I think, on Wednesday, trimming and joining. So again, we already touched on large designs might need to be backed in sections and then sashing applied to that final seam later. And then after your blocks are joined together, you're going to cut your backing fabric to the correct size. And then you're going to layer and you're going to pin, avoiding seams. I'm kind of going through this a little bit faster because we're going to demo this on Thursday.
Do it. Yeah.
The whole point of what we're telling you right now is so that you can make a smart decision about how you want to proceed with whatever design you're working on, not necessarily just Masterclass 104, although that's primarily what we're demoing this week.
Yep.
But step 3, place a monopoly thread in your needle and bobbin and then stitch in the ditch to join using that serpentine stitch and then baste around the edges. So pretty simple. I think it's a little bit quicker than adding your backing in the hoop. Mm-hmm. But again, you have that trade-off of the back is just plain.
And I will say the ones that the big quilts that the back is sashed, it is pretty stunning. Yes. So anyways, that's kind of the gist of that. But let's dive in. So that was kind of like our overview.
Yes.
And now we're going to move into talking about the main topic for today, which is all about applique.
Yes.
I love it. 2 main ingredients.
That's right.
If you guys don't know this, Sarah's also an amazing baker.
Oh, that's a problem too. I made cookies this weekend.
Yeah.
And I didn't share any with you
because I was going to say,
I ate them all.
What the heck?
I ate them all and I would blame my kids, but
let's answer this question real quick.
Do you use pre-wound monopoly bobbins? So I wind them on my machine. If you have issues doing that, then you can purchase pre-wound monopoly bobbins. You do need to know what class bobbin you need, but those are available on our website if you want to check them out. If you're winding them on your own machine, I would just recommend slowing it down. Don't wind it full speed. Slow it all the way down.
Okay. All right. All about applique.
So all about applique. So yeah, there's 2 main ingredients for great applique. This is what I think, at least. You guys let me know if you agree with me in the comments. But I'm going to call these hoop scissors minis and water soluble thread. And I think it was Lenny that kind of touched on water soluble thread a little bit earlier when we were kind of reviewing back to basics. So this is a little bit of a review again, but fewer thread changes. Love that because what it allows you to do is build your block without changing your thread to match your fabric with each applique that you're putting down. We're going to break this rule a little bit today, though. And we'll talk about the exception and why we're breaking it when we stitch out our block. And then the other reason that I love water-soluble thread for applique in particular is if you're tacking down an applique that is, I'm going to grab my example again. If you are tacking down an applique fabric that kind of flows block to block, so like watermelon flows into my border right here, you will get some of that tack down stitching and catch perfectly with water soluble. If I wash this, it will just wash right away. So great thing to use for applique. And then your hoop scissors minis, let's talk about those. So I'll show you guys in demo a little bit more, but hoop scissors minis have an offset handle. So here you can see and this is a pair of minis, this is a pair of regular hoop scissors, but they've both got this nice offset handle. And then the minis I like best for applique because they really have a fine point on them and nice thin blades. So when I'm trimming in my hoop, I'm not trimming at an angle like this. I'm going to lay my blade nice and flat. Okay, and I'll show you guys this. We're going to walk through a step-by-step demonstration of stitching that flower block. But the two big things that I think of when I think of applique and doing that in the hoop.
Okay.
I think the next slide says, let's stitch it. Let's find out.
Oh,
see, I remember. Good job. And by those of you following along, I should have said this before that slide, but following along, I did, like I said earlier, I kind of did my slides a little bit out of order, but we were back on page 2, and now we're kind of moving into page 3. We're going to do the step-by-step stitch out for the flower block. Okay, let me gather all my supplies. So what I have is my battleizer that I showed you guys how to hoop earlier. So it's in my hoop already, that batting and stabilizer combination. And then I've got my dream puff or bamboo or wool, whatever you're using is fine. It's cut and prepared by pressing. Then I've got my fabrics that I cut. And then I've got a couple different threads that I'm going to use. And then already over at my machine, I have a water-soluble thread.
Don't forget your scissors.
Oh yeah, and my scissors. Let's head over there. I actually have one over there. All right. Let me get situated for a moment, and then we'll get going. Oh, Joyce said I misplaced my hoop scissors mini and I had to use a different scissor recently. Aww. I wanted to cry, but she found her mini. Awesome. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I'm popping my hoop on the machine. And now we're going to go ahead. I've got everything pulled up on my machine. I'm on step 1.
Why do you have all that battleizer hanging off the side?
Oh, I'll tell you about that when I trim it. But yeah, when you go ahead, when you hoop this, make sure you're hooping it with, you can just trim your battleizer across the width of it and then leave it that 24 inches wide and leave that excess off to the side of your hoop, because then you can re-hoop that later and get the most use of your battleizer. But for step 1, you're going to put that water-soluble thread in your needle and you're going to sew your placement stitch. I do have a dark colored thread in here so that we can see it on camera. So do as I say, not as I do.
Like any true teacher.
Yes. So Debbie, I think this is so interesting. She said she's a lefty and very picky about scissors. Hoop Sister scissors are very sharp and cut well. That is awesome and so good to know. You know, we get that comment, not all the time, but regularly. I'm a lefty. Will it work for me? And I'm a righty. My son, my 6-year-old son, is a lefty. And I was trying to show him how to use scissors the other day, and it was very confusing to try to teach him.
Sound like it would be hard.
Yes. I've never thought about it before until he was actually using a pair of hoop scissors. Yes. So we were being very, very careful, and I was like, oh, my brain was having a hard time teaching a lefty how to use it. Okay, but that was one of my scroll moments. See, here I go. Okay, so for step 2, this is going to be the optional step. This is where if you decide that you want to use Dream Puff to get that extra texture behind your quilting or behind your applique, go ahead and place it right here in your placement stitch. And I've got mine cut and prepared. So it's in my placement stitch. And then I'm going to do step 2 to tack this down. It is built into the design. You'll see it on your instructions. If you don't want this extra batting on there, just go ahead and skip to step 3. But for those of you who do, keep that water-soluble thread in your needle. You might want to raise your presser foot just so it skims right over the top of your wool. And then you're going to sew your tack down. Okay, for step 3, we are going to keep the water-soluble thread in the needle. We're going to align our background fabric. I like to lift up under each of the edges, just make sure it's covering nicely. And then I'm going to stitch my tack down. This step will also sew the placement stitch for your applique. Oh, that's a good question. Karen said, why a zigzag and not a straight stitch to tack down batting? So let me finish this step real quick. I'm a bad multitasker. Okay, so the zigzag stitch is really going to help because it's going to make sure that you're catching as much as possible of that batting. If you were to do a straight stitch and you didn't cut your Dream Puff perfectly to size and place it in there perfectly, you're probably going to miss some of it or even an entire side when you're tacking that down. So the zigzag stitch is just a little extra security for you. And you might even with the zigzag miss a little bit of one or two of the sides when you're tacking it down. And that's okay. You just don't want to miss an entire side when you're tacking down. So just a little extra security with that zigzag. Okay, so there's my placement. So now, before we move on to the next step, we are going to sew the quilting. I'm sorry, my brain, come on. Before we move on to the applique, we're going to stitch the quilting, and this is step 4. I like to use, for this design, just a thread that matches my background fabric. If you want something to stand out a little bit, you could go with something that maybe is a little lighter or a little darker, depending on your background fabric. Whatever thread color you prefer here. But so this is just sewing our quilting. Loretta said Colorado has no problem with water-soluble thread. I bet it's a little more dry there, huh? Yep, and Lenny said she stores her water-soluble thread in a plastic bag.
Sarah loves very light backgrounds and light thread.
I do. I do. You can't pull me away from a white fabric with a white thread, Aubrey. Oh, Joni said once you're hooked on Hoop Sisters, you'll go through a 2,000-yard spool fast. And she's talking about the water soluble. Yeah. Here. Ooh, Miriam, this is one of my favorite things. Will you cover how to put an extra piece on the back to hang the quilt? So I think you're talking about a sleeve on the back of your quilt. And Miriam, if you're anything like me and you don't love hand sewing, I'm not built for it. I'm going to show you how to do a no hand sew sleeve. So all done in with your machine. We're going to do that on Thursday. Pamela says, do you use SF 101 on the background fabric to help prevent puckering? Why or why not? So Pamela, I do not. We do not do that. I think there might be one design that I've ever done that with. So for 99.999% of our designs, no, we do not use SF 101, and we don't have any problems with puckering. Now you can see here, this design, I don't think it really needs it. It's got the background quilting that's included and then your applique. You're just not really going to have puckering on a design like this. If you're working with a different design and you do find that you have puckering, you of course could give that a try. But I just don't find it necessary. Okay, so this is still working its way through step 4, which is our quilting step. Yes, thank you. Sissy said, I've never had puckering when I use Vitalizer. Yep. And by the way, as we stitch this, I have my flower instructions printed out, and so I can reference these at any time. I can make notes on here. One of the things that you might like to do when you're stitching out a design is have those printed so that you can jot down the notes. And one of the notes that I would recommend making is writing down what color thread you're using for certain steps. That will help you make sure that you're staying consistent from block to block. So before we jump onto this next step, I do just want to give you a quick glance of the instructions. So we like to try to make our instructions so that they're not overwhelmingly detailed, but not way too simple that you're like, I need a little more. So I think that this is kind of hitting that mark here, hopefully, for you guys. It's got a nice image of what's going to stitch in that step. And then it has the detail of what you're doing. So for instance, we're going to go to the next step, which is step 5. Here's step 5. So here's the image of what's going to stitch. And then what it says is align flower fabric over placement. So you're going to align your flower fabric. We'll get to that in one second. But I want to point out that flower fabric is underlined. Why is it underlined? Because that is an additional fabric that you're adding to your block in that step. So it kind of highlights that for you. Your eye goes to that. And then it says, sew tack down using thread that contrasts fabric. And the words thread that contrasts fabric, those are also underlined. And again, the reason for that is because you're going to change your thread. You want to make sure that you have this thread for that step. And then after you do that, after you sew your tack down, you're going to use your hoop scissors mini to trim close to tack down stitching. So just if you've never seen our instructions, I just wanted to give you a little idea of kind of what they're all about.
I want to pop a comment up for you to read.
Okay, pop a comment up.
Did that quilting. I want to say.
Sue said, I love that the quilting is included with your designs. Makes stitching out the project very easy. Yes, I love that part too, Sue. And making the quilting for these designs sometimes is the most fun part. Yeah. Okay. So I just read our instructions for step 5. Now we are going to switch over our thread, and I'm going to change that to, like it said, a thread that contrasts my flower fabric. because this step now, again, this is where we're breaking the rule, right? We're not using, remember how I said there's 2 main ingredients for a great applique? Well, it's not water soluble thread this time. I'm following my instructions and I'm using a thread that contrasts my fabric. And the reason is because this is going to stitch the tack down as well as some decorative stitching on the inside of the flower. So we'll just make sure that our fabric is aligned over our placement. And then with that contrasting thread in your needle, we're going to sew our tack down and details. So that's the first tack down stitch. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go around the outside again. So it's going to kind of give you extra insurance that when you trim your fabric close to those tack down stitches, you've got 2 layers of tack down stitches in case you were to clip one. You've got that second one that will hold it for you. So if it goes around twice like that with Hoop Sisters designs, that's typically an indication that you're going to be trimming it close to your tack down stitching because it's an applique. I'm going to stop it and just trim a little thread. Oh my gosh, I love this. She said, I'm new to Hoop Sisters, and this is my goal this year, is to learn how to use my machine for the first time. That's awesome. You got this.
You're in the right spot at the right time.
That's right. Loretta said, I find Hoop Sisters not only has beautiful projects, but also gives you ways to save money, like with Frankenbat and water soluble thread. Yeah, Frankenbat is the best little money saving hack.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our applique fabric tacked down. So, and I say this a lot on most of our lives, but I can't stress how important this is. When you are trimming your applique fabric, place your hoop on a hard, flat surface. Do not place it in your lap. When you place it in your lap, you're guaranteed to apply a little bit of pressure, to too much pressure to the bottom of your hoop or to the top of your hoop. Like when you're trimming, if you're pressing down on it, and it can shift your design out of alignment just so that your satin stitches will not line up how they're supposed to. So place your hoop on a hard, flat surface. If that means that you have to go over to your cutting table, I highly recommend it. To avoid, having to restitch a block. And sometimes you might even pop your design out of your hoop completely. You don't want to do those things. So I have my hoop on a hard, flat surface. I have my Hoop Scissors Mini with this nice offset hoop. And when I'm trimming, I'm going to have the blade flat against my block like this. I'm going to open it up. I'm not trimming like this. This was how I was trying to teach my son. Keep it flat against there. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to trim as close as possible to my tack down stitching. And when I do this, I do like to tug ever so gently outward on my fabric away from that tack down stitching. I find that it gives me a much, much cleaner cut. And I just kind of rotate my hoop as I go. It'll take you a second around all these really pretty petals, but it is worth it. And that nice fine point on the minis helps you get right in those little crevices in any of your embroidery. like we're about halfway there. And I use that wool, or that dream puff rather, in this block. We've been saying wool for years, Aubrey, and I can't stop saying it.
I know it is
Ingrained in my brain. But I use that dream puff additional batting in my this block, and it does add, it's hard to see it on camera, but it adds a nice little texture and dimension to my flower right here. Okay, now I'm going to place my hoop back on the machine, and I'm going to change my thread for this next step to a thread that matches my flower fabric, which is my applique fabric. And then this step will take a couple minutes, but this is going to sew the satin stitching. Oh, Barbara said to teach a lefty how to use scissors, have them sit in front of you and show them how to cut. It works. I'll have to keep that in mind with my son, because it's the things that you don't think of until you're teaching someone is crazy. I didn't know about keeping the scissors flat. Yes, yeah. That will really help you, I think, with trimming. Oh, I like this. A hoop-sized piece of plywood or stiff cardboard is great if you like to trim in your lap. That's a great recommendation. Something like that that is stiff and nice and hard for you to set your hoop on, so that you're not sticking your knees through it. You don't want to do that. Thank you. It does, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that is stitching around. I'm going to just cover a couple things based on the comments that I think we should talk about real quick. And the first is this is basically the first day of Masterclass 104, where we're going to be walking you step by step through how to make this quilt. It's so pretty. It has that beautiful faux flange. It has some applique, which we are talking about today. Tomorrow we're going to get into the stitch and flip. And we're going to put it all together. We've got a lot. Yes, I can't ever stop saying flip and stitch. I don't know why. But this is available on our website if you would like to kind of stitch along with us, or you can just hang out with us and learn. But if you want to put this to use on this quilt, we'll drop a link over to the website where you can grab the Masterclass 104. And then this week, I'm going to put this over here for a second. We have brought back some of the promotions. And I will tell you what that is right here. So basically this week, when you order Masterclass, you are also going to get this kind of free gift with purchase, which is our B block, which you can make individually here, as you see Sarah has, or this can actually pop into your quilt if you kind of know what you're doing and you want to replace one of the blocks with the B block. This will pop in as a free gift with purchase automatically in your account when you add Masterclass 104 to your cart. The other thing that we did, which this is something we did a free course called Back to Basics at the beginning of this month. If you did not get a chance to snag that, I asked you to put a number 5 in the comments. I saw quite a few of you hadn't grabbed it yet. So basically this week will be your last chance to grab that for free as well. And we will link to that. Now that is going to be a zipped file. If you have any problems with it, just go ahead and email Nina@hoopsisters.com. But we'll link to all this goodness that you can get your hands on Back to Basics free guide is a great place to start. I know there's some people on here that are kind of new and this is your year, right? Where you're going to learn this. This is a really great place to start. Masterclass and Back to Basics are fantastic. So wanted you guys to know about that. Let me see what else I got in here.
Alrighty, I see a couple questions while this is still going. I think it's about halfway done. So it does take a couple minutes, but I think it's so worth it. The satin stitch on this one actually adds a lot of detail to this flower. So really pretty. Okay, let's answer some questions. Karen said, what is Frankenbat? So Frankenbat is, we're going to show you kind of how to make this on the day that we do trimming and joining, which I want to say is Wednesday. But what it is because you hoop your battleizer, like seen here, versus hooping a stabilizer and then just putting a smaller piece of battleizer on top, you'll end up with longer scraps, typically bigger scraps of it. It's not waste. Don't throw it away. Keep it, because what you can do is you can make Frankenbat with it. And again, we're going to show you on Wednesday. But what that is you can just kind of zigzag stitch pieces together until you get a piece that's large enough to pop in your hoop, and you can build a whole new block right on top of it. So it's a great way to just use up those, what otherwise would likely be waste or trash, and you can build a whole new block. Oh, Kathy said, yes, Sarah's using the automatic needle trimmer. Yeah, I started it. And I love it. I just got to say, I love it. Why didn't I do that years ago? Okay, Connie said, can I watch this again? Yes, Connie, you sure can. This will be available for replays for you as many times as you need to come back and reference it. Susan said, my granddog Rosie is riveted by your video, totally focused on every step. That's awesome. Well, hello, Rosie. Hopefully you're learning something. Okay, and then what is Dream Puff? You mentioned it gives extra puff to applique. Do you sell that? Yes, you can get that. I say that, Aubrey, but it might be out of stock on our website right now. I'm not certain. But typically, yes, you can get that on our website, hoopsisters.com. If it is out of stock, then maybe check with your local quilt shop, because they likely have some wool or some Dream Puff. And it is really nice because, again, it's harder to see on camera. It doesn't pick up as much, but it adds some extra dimension to your blocks behind the quilting and behind the applique. And I also think the larger your block is, the more dimension that you're going to get from it. So I'm stitching the 5-inch block today. If you stitch the 8-inch block, you're going to see even more dimension with it. But again, it's just a personal preference thing. If you go, I don't have it, or I don't want to use it for whatever reason, then just skip that step. Oh, Barbara wants to know what speed my machine is on. It's on full speed. I wouldn't want to go any slower. I like to go fast. No, it is on full speed. I do feel like this machine kind of tends to slow down for certain satin stitches. If your machine doesn't like to go full speed with satin stitches, then just slow it down a little bit. But I just keep mine on full speed right now. And Cheryl said she took Masterclass 103 last year and learned so much and is still learning. That is awesome, Cheryl. Love to hear that. Oh, so cool. Karen saved her battleizer scraps and made 2 entire projects with it. That's really cool. Mary Lou, is it normal for my heartbeat to be racing? This is so fun. That's cute. I'm glad you're having fun. I am too. Okay. So now we are moving on to, let me switch my instructions. I switched my page so that I can reference this just to make sure I get it right. Now for step 7, we are going to align the center fabric over the placement. And then again, we're going to break our applique rule and we're going to use a thread that contrasts our fabric to tack this down because it's also going to sew some decorative stitching. So I've got it aligned over there. I'm actually going to keep the thread that I already have in there that I just used for my satin stitch because it contrasts nicely. So again, you'll see it's tacking it down around the edges twice. That again is our indication that you're going to trim close to the tack down stitching for an applique. Okay, Vicki wants to know, when you added Dream Puff, was it under all of the whole block? Hold on, Vicki. Hold on. Was it under Dream Puff or just the applique part? I'm going to have to clean up my mess in a second, but I'm going to answer Vicki's question first. Was it under the whole block or just the applique section? It is under the whole block. So it was step 2 of our design. So we hooped our battleizer, we stitched our placement stitch, and then step 2, tacked down the Dream Puff. There are a couple designs that Hoop Sisters does, so that you'd find on our website, where we do use the method where we only want it under our applique, but 99% of the time it's under the whole block. Okay, Aubrey, I have a little bit of a mess to clean up. Do you want to chat with them while I clean this up? I should have slowed my machine down. I knew she was asking for a reason, how fast it was.
Okay, I'll talk for just a second while she fixes that. Okay, so I just wanted to also pop this back up on screen because I know that we are doing a really nice job of an overview today. We've dropped some terms like Frankenbat and we've talked about applique and wool and vanish light and all that stuff. So today, Monday, it's just been a really nice back to basics review, plus diving into all about applique, talking about backing options. And we're stitching the flower right now. Now, tomorrow is stitch and flip 2 ways. Annie's going to be joining Sarah. So you're going to have 2 amazing teachers talking about that. And they're going to stitch butterfly 3 blocks. So if you have the design and you're stitching along with us, they're going to be stitching butterfly 3 block tomorrow live. So get ready for that. And then Wednesday, I'm very excited about Wednesday because this faux flange that's on the quilt, we'll have to show the quilt again in a little bit. It really gives it this beautiful kind of wavy border look, even though the block is truly like a rectangle or square. It's going to give it some movement in there as well. And the faux flange, also the color that Sarah chose, it also adds a really nice pop of color too. And on Wednesday, when they do that, she's going to be stitching the border block. That's where that faux flange is. And then Thursday might be my favorite day just because these are things that we don't always teach on, but I think they're going to be very, very helpful. So we're going to be putting it all together, from backing and sashing demo to the no hand sew sleeve demo, which might be our most requested content to teach on. People love that no hand sew sleeve demo. And then Tammy, who is a Hoop Sister here, she's great at teaching binding. So she's going to come on and teach binding on Thursday as well. All right. Are you going to show that up here?
Yes, I'm going to
Okay.
show it up here.
Okay.
So, leave it to when you're live and trying to walk through how to do something. My machine ate that pretty good.
Oh, no.
So that's okay. I'm going to fix it after the live.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture of it when I'm done. But we did run through the key components of doing applique and the hoop. I just need to trim that and add one last satin stitch, and then it was done. But
Okay.
I didn't want to behave. I should have known that when someone said, "How fast is your machine?" and I said, "It's as fast as it can go."
Full speed
Yeah.
ahead. She should have slowed down.
Sometimes though. But I saw in the comments someone said, if doing the 8-inch block, will that still work for a one piece
Yes,
backing?
I saw that too.
So I was just going to show them, yes, this is an 8-inch block and we just have the one piece backing on there. So yes,
Perfect.
yes, it will.
Okay. I'm just like checking comments. Okay. Let's see.
And you might have said this, but we are live at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Monday
Oh, I
through
did. I don't
Thursday
know that
this
I did
week.
say that.
I should have put that on that slide.
Okay. Sorry. I'm just
No, you're
making sure
fine.
that we get these
You're
all.
fine.
And I want you to look at these. Joyce says Frankenbat works great. And this is fun too. I think you guys are excited for this. We have a 250th anniversary quilt about to release. It's not available until April 7th. I got an email today asking, when can I get it? Haven't showed it yet, but you guys are super excited, which is great. So you can register on the website. And I know Nina dropped a link to that as well. Okay, just getting through comments here.
I see the last one says, oh, no, the one above that, sorry, was what I was looking at. This is my first class. Can I go back to the other master classes? Do we need to show our wall hanging to pass the class? You're going to pass just by trying.
Just by
honestly.
participating.
Just try.
Yeah.
We don't fail anyone around
Yeah.
here. We just work with you to try to teach you how to get a better outcome next time if you don't love what you've done. So the biggest difference between, and this is a really big difference actually, between all of the master classes. So this is Masterclass 104, which means we've done 101,
This is the
102,
fourth?
103, 104.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is the design that is included with it. Course guides largely stay the same. They are a little bit different this year though, because we added a faux flange into it, but
and the quilt sleeve and the
I
sleeve.
don't
think we did binding last.
I don't
I
know
think
if
all
we've done
that's
binding.
new. Yeah.
But for the most part, the course guides are the same minus those additions for this year. Biggest difference I would say is the design that is included with it.
Okay.
Yeah. What sashing is? I just saw you highlight that one.
Yeah.
So sashing is when you decide to add backing in the hoop and then you go to trim your blocks, you're going to have some raw edges after you join your blocks together that need to be covered up. Even better, actually. Let me get this out of here. Throw it on the floor. Okay, so this one, backing was added in the hoop, blocks are joined together, but then I have this raw edge right here. And what you do with that is you add sashing to it. And sashing is this strip of fabric right here. And it can be either a decorative element. You can view it as a decorative element and kind of contrast your fabrics like it is done here. We got a purple and a lime green and a teal. Or you can this one doesn't exactly match. You can match your backing fabric a little bit more so it blends in more. But the only purpose of it, aside from the more decorative element, is that it's going to cover those raw edges for you. So that's what sashing is.
Cool. Okay. Did that.
What time zone? I don't know if we're EDT or EST right now.
We're EDT. Okay. We're on the East Coast. We're in Ohio. So if you're Pacific, it's early for you. Okay. The quilt behind us is called Cartwheel. Really pretty.
Yep. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that one's called Cartwheel.
And that one, I think, now that one has been around a few years, but I think uses stitch and flip in 2 different ways, which we're going to talk about tomorrow.
Ooh, and we didn't even plan that.
Yeah. It's my first Hoop Sisters project. My brain is excited and so ready to sew this out. Just listened today and didn't sew along. Hey, that's fine, Sharon. Honestly, if I were brand new to this, what I would do is I would listen, make notes in my course guides if I needed to, and then afterwards, then I would go to my machine and stitch it out. And you can always come back tomorrow and ask questions if you have questions.
Yeah. Okay.
All righty.
Did we get it all?
I think so.
All right. So Let me real quick. I just want to pop this back up. We'll drop the link if you haven't yet ordered Masterclass, where you're going to get all the course guides and the design files so that you can actually like put this stuff into practice. We'll drop a link where you can get that, and reminder that the B block through the end of the week is included as a free gift with purchase and will pop in your cart automatically. The other thing that we want you to know is this was like the precursor, right? This was the free back to basics thing we did at the beginning of the month. If you want to get your hands on that, we'll drop a link to that as well. But the most important thing that we want you to know is if you have questions, we're live on YouTube and Facebook. If we missed your question or you had one that you didn't ask, and you're still kind of going, okay, how do I get this or that? The best thing for you to do now is reach out to Nina via phone or email, and she can give you a hand for sure.
Yep.
And then tomorrow we'll be back live again at the same time, 11 a.m. Wow, I am not going to be
I
up
will
at
not be here at
11
11 p.m.
11 a.m. Eastern time, and Sarah will be joined by our mom and Hoop Sisters co-founder Annie Moody, and they're both going to take really good care of you then as well. So I love that we have a wonderful mix in the comments of new to Hoop Sisters and the tried and true Hoop Sisters who have been here a long time. It's a really great way to kind of have even more help. Not to mention, I did want to, when you were asking about, someone asked, in order to pass the class, do I have to post my quill?
Yes.
No,
I'm just kidding.
The answer is no, you don't. However, I think we should also drop a link to our VIP Facebook group, because if you want to, we would love to see your progress pictures along the way. Maybe even something that you've learned today, you could post in there as well. But yeah, the sample with all the butterflies. So this sample does have butterflies. That's our Masterclass 104. We also have a vintage butterflies that we showed last week. So I'm not sure, Mary, which one you're talking about. But the one that we're focused on this week is our Masterclass.
Yep. And this, I believe this is butterfly 3. So this is what we'll stitch tomorrow.
Okay. All right, you all. We will see you tomorrow. Happy stitching.